Top sports where the takes don't miss. The prof with the stats, the champ with the fist. Water bringing fire, cowboy tie riding bold. Bulls calling bets, watch the stories unfold. And it's truly eyebrows running the show. It's high top sports, baby. Let's get it. Let's go.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Tuesday to all you beautiful people out there. Welcome back to our morning show. We got a jam-packed one. We got two major guests joining us today. We're going to talk basketball as bracketology has rolled out. Florida moves up in the AP poll. How does that affect that bracketology? Then we'll have Graham Hall join us later on in the show to give us some insight on this Florida football team. We had a great show last night with Stephen Harris, talked about this defense, talked about, obviously, practice that is supposed to start next week. So we're going to have ourselves a show. Good to see you. Smash the like button, subscribe. We also showed, or teased, if I should say, the spring release. We're doing a T-shirt. We always do it. We sell a T-shirt at the spring game. You can only acquire it at the spring game. We teased that last night as well, too. So good to see you. Happy to have you. Cody the Prof joins us here today, looking leaner, meaner than ever. Codes, how you doing, big guy?
Good. It's I know, freaking rookie move. Golly,
first
day. I had to take a little nap. Okay, I had to take a little nap because here at 10:30, I'm preparing myself for war. Okay, it's the first day with the personal speed trainer.
We getting some clips today. That we have to get clips today. That's the only requirement of today's
I'm
training.
doing an evaluation. I'll see. So I'm doing a DEXA scan and all kinds
Cody
of
might
stuff.
show up and go. He might go. He goes. You're gonna have to go.
Get out.
You're gonna have to go. All right, boys. We got John Austin joining us. John, good morning, man. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, guys. How's everything going? It was a great weekend of basketball. I'm ready to talk some ball with y'all. It was a really good one this weekend.
It was. So you texted me because Kansas dropped one after the show.
Yep.
And then they the big one last night. Big one. You don't know what you're gonna get.
No.
You don't.
I felt like a genius on Saturday when they lost to Cincinnati, and then I was like, yep, that's what Kansas is. They're back and forth. They're up and down. There's so many teams like that this year that it seems like I can't really make sense of so many of them. In Houston, I mean, they've dropped 3 in a row now. I don't really know what the Cougars are doing. They looked a little disjointed last night, and Darren Peterson didn't even play very well. So I'm confused about a lot of teams, and which I think contributes to the March Madness this year. I think it'll be a great one.
Yeah, I mean, The with the Houston situation, obviously they had themselves a great team last year, poised to be looking good and solid this year. They didn't drop too many last year because it's just their style of play is very aggressive, right? That's kind of how they function. So for them to drop 3 in a row now, it seems very uncanny for them. And Florida moved up into number 7 from 12 in the top 25. Bracketology dropped on Sunday, which Florida was still ranked 12th at that time, which kept Florida in the 3 seed. Now, I do want to see if I can pull up that bracket from CBS to show you where we were. But before, why I pull that up, John, is there a possibility that Florida moves up now with this change in the AP poll?
I mean, right now, there's so many teams, like Iowa State lost this weekend to BYU, and they jump up to number 4. So I don't really know what the AP poll and bracketology, I don't understand where the disconnect is there. Illinois drops one to UCLA. They were up huge in the first half. I think they were up like 33-10, and then they lose in overtime. So I don't really know what's going on with the AP poll. I don't think it's very consistent with what the bracketology is looking at. So yes, we're we're number 7 overall, but I don't know where we're going to end up as far as bracketology goes because those guys seem to operate on their own wavelength completely.
Well, that bracketology, if I'm not mistaken, came out with when we were still ranked 12th. Right?
It did, yeah. But I don't know what they put into the AP poll that makes it different. Like I couldn't see, Gonzaga has been very up and down as well. Like I don't know, man. And then Duke climbs to number 1. That game pissed me off. I'm going to be honest. I was watching Michigan Duke and on Saturday, and I think if you're a betting man, you should put a future on Duke to win the national title because if Saturday was any indicator, the fix is in and they really want Duke to win this national title.
Oh, not the fix.
I was watching that game and the amount of calls that they were giving Duke Cameron Boozer is incredible. He's a great player. He's probably the best player in the country. His rebounding is incredible. I think he's going to be one of the top 3 picks. Like, it's between him and Dybantsa, I think, at this point, who had a monster game. I wanted to talk about him against Iowa State. But I think it looks like last year they were pissed off that Duke didn't win.
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted Duke to win. And then, Houston spoiled that. And then we spoiled Houston. And I think that it just looks like they think that Duke deserves a title or something, which Cameron Boozer is probably the best player in the country right now. But the refs were not doing them any favors. And it seemed terrible to me. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else in the chat watched that, but the calls were just so inconsistent, man. It was terrible.
QLee's is disgusting.
Okay, good. Thank you, QLee. I appreciate the verification on that, because I thought I was tripping, but I was watching it and I did not get it. I don't know. Like, Duke is a great team. You don't have to give them the calls that they were giving them on Saturday, but college basketball refereeing has always been suspect. I mean, the Auburn game in the Final Four last year was one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. Didn't matter ultimately, but it pissed me off, man.
I got a question for you. Is there one team that you're not confused about?
I think still Michigan. Like, I still think they're the best team in the country. I think Florida, we're rolling right now. It's obviously been a weaker SEC schedule. Ole Miss, I mean, we beat them the way that we should beat them. We hit a lot of threes Saturday, which was awesome. Condon looked great. I think he had 24 points on Saturday.
Yep.
So I think we're getting into that point of the season where we look like we're really good. But I do think that it is that top 8-10 teams. I think Duke is up there as well. UConn, they hammered Villanova on the road this weekend. Then I think they dropped a spot in the AP poll. So as far as I don't want to be confused about everyone, but it does seem to be a very inconsistent year. But I think that, that top 8-10 teams are still very solid. And I think that's where the national champion is going to come from.
So here's kind of the bracket, if you will. As of Sunday, like I said, Florida moved up in the AP poll after this was released. And like John said, who knows if it'll change. I didn't think that Florida would move up too much, and I said a lot had to happen. Well, sure enough, a lot happened in front of them. Because I don't think Florida has enough on their schedule to make them move up organically, outside of maybe taking down Arkansas just dominantly. Because again, we've said that the SEC tournament's not going to really impact them too much. Real quick, John, have they locked down the SEC tournament? Like, is there, or where are we at with that? Because it's got to be, or the championship, I should say.
I think if we beat Arkansas, I think we need to win 2 of the last 4 games to seal it. But I think I don't think, looking at that schedule, we shouldn't drop any of them. Really,
yeah.
Like I know last year we dropped one late, but I think this year we're 12-2 right now. I think the next best team is 10-4. So if we win 2 of the last 4, we'll lock up that regular season SEC title, especially if we beat Arkansas, because I think they're one of the teams in second. And then we have the tiebreaker over Alabama and Tennessee as well. So I think if we can just lock that up, then I think we'll be sitting pretty, maybe a 2 seed. It looks like, I don't know, there's a lot of teams falling right now. And then there's a lot of teams that are, finding their form. Purdue lost last week to Michigan, but they still have looked great recently, and the AP poll reflects that. I don't think they dropped 1 spot because they lost to Michigan, and I think that the AP poll gives that a lot of. They're like, it's okay that they lost that one. So I don't know. I think that the SEC, though, I think if we lock that up, we should be a 2 seed. I think.
So we would be. I can't see where 2 seed is at there.
I think we're looking at probably
a 2 seed in the Midwest right now.
2 seed. I can't quite see with the bottom of it. It looks like
3. Oh, Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Oh, I'm muted. I'm like, you guys, I'm telling you what it is. Just because we went to a 2 seed doesn't mean we would stay in that Midwest bracket either, Cody. We could move to the East.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it doesn't we're not locked into this Midwest as a 3 seed either. It's all bracket.
I want the nastiest bracket out there.
Yeah, we know. But so right now we have Michigan, Iowa State. Though those are our 1 and 2 seeds. I would, Iowa State. You've liked them a lot, John. I think you've talked about them pretty heavily. Would you argue if we were to get this bracket, would be one of the hardest ones, with Iowa State being 2, Michigan being 1?
I mean, that you want to talk about a physical bracket, man. Michigan, Iowa State, and Florida as the top 3 seeds. Like, that is going to be just some disgusting.
I mean, that could easily be your top 3 teams in the country.
Yeah, that's and Iowa State, they did lose to BYU on Saturday, but AJ Dybantsa, the freshman, he's the guy I think should be the number 1 overall pick. I think if you're an NBA GM, he's 6'9". He has like a 40-inch vertical. He had 29 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists on Saturday as an 18-year-old against one of the top 6 teams in the country. And I think if you're an NBA GM, you will lose your job if you don't draft A.J. Dybantsa. I realize Cameron Boozer has a lot of hype too. I don't think you can necessarily get it wrong, but for my eyes, Dybantsa he's incredible. He's like a LeBron type where you cannot miss on this kid. And I think that losing to them, I obviously the AP poll didn't take it that seriously. They moved Iowa State up. So I still think Iowa State is that's the thing with college basketball is you lose these games because there's so many of them. It's not like college football where you lose a game and it's like, oh, you drop, exponentially. I think Iowa State is still one of the best teams. Illinois at that 2 seed in the East, I think that would be where we would have the biggest opportunity to slide in because Illinois, they play decent ball. It's a lot of Europeans. I don't know if you guys have watched them this year. They have like 9 European dudes on the team, and then this freshman Keaton Wagler it's very good. But I think that they have been very inconsistent as well. They lose to UCLA in that overtime thriller on Saturday, which was a great game, 95-94, and I think that we could overtake them in the 2 spot for sure.
Well, what's interesting is because, again, the AP poll has changed dramatically since this has came out, right? Like the Bracketology came out on Sunday, and then a lot of teams dropped some games, and the AP poll adjusted accordingly. And like Iowa State they're a 2 seed here, but they're now the 4th ranked team in the country. So they could be pushing for a 1 spot because UConn dropped a handful of games. They're now a 6 seed, right ahead of Florida, which now fits more of that 2 seed vibe. Obviously, Houston dropped another one. They're a 5 seed, but they lost obviously last night. Could they be falling farther down? Kansas wins a big one. They were 14. It kind of just shows you, like you said, that you don't really move around too much typically in the past with your seeding in basketball because there are so many games. But it does feel like 1 through 15, 16 is such a small margin that any loss right now could be a massive swing from a 2 to a 4 seed, if we're being honest. So just because of how tight it is, there isn't much room for error. And also, man, I keep looking at it. The fact that Florida played 3 of the top 6 teams at the beginning of the season, it massive. I mean, I don't know if Todd Golden was in his crystal ball or what, but to play Duke, Arizona, and UConn to get a true test, that was early on. All 4 teams are much different, right? Including Florida than and that previous matchup. But I love the fact that Florida has already tasted that blood. Obviously, we've got teams like Michigan going against some great teams right now, along with Houston. So it's not like nobody else is doing it. But I'm glad that Florida was able to get those games in while we go through our.
Yeah,
I would say
I think we lost what
play.
we lost to all those teams by combined
less
like
than a
10 or 12
possession
points.
Yeah,
Arizona was the biggest one, and Arizona on Saturday, they pummeled Houston. They only ended up winning by 7, but in that second half, I think at one point Houston went 9 or almost 10 minutes without a field goal. They had 4 points in 10 minutes of the second half. They were down 3 and then went on a 12-0 run. And they just the defense that Arizona was able to play. They have this kid Awaka in the paint. He was blocking everything. He did foul out, so that could be a potential weak spot. Yeah. And they didn't even have their number 1 player, Koa Pete, who's one of the other top 5, top 10 picks in the NBA draft this year. He was out this week with I think he had a calf strain, which after Tyrese Halliburton, I think everybody in the world is very squeamish about calf strains now. They're not playing through it anymore, especially at this time of the year. But they have so many good players. They have this kid that comes off the bench, Del Orso, and he's got the craziest hairline I've seen in college basketball. He looks like a Sims character, like a Lego guy would just go straight across. But he was lethal on Saturday against Houston, and Arizona is another team that I think they play such sustainable ball. They really don't shoot the 3 at all. They play just pound defense. They have this big 7'2" Krivas kid who comes in for Awaka, and so they just have size and that paint. I think that they would be a team that would match up pretty well with us, and I think that for them, I mean, like they just play such great defense that I think Arizona is a team that a lot of people they clearly have the respect. They're the number 2 seed, and I think that Big 12 championship is going to decide who's going to get. It's kind of like the SEC last year where we got 2 teams in the top 4. I think it'll be Arizona, Iowa State. I think Houston might have fallen out of that. And then there is Kansas, again, they still just, I don't really know what to make of them. I mean, last night they win that one, but Fog Allen is a terrible place to play if you're a team on the road.
Koa Pete. Oh, my bad.
Go ahead.
Koa Pete, I remember lighting us up early. I mean, that kid had like 28 points. He was he was everything for them during that Florida. Obviously a much different team now. Do you fear that Florida doesn't have the star power like we did last year to where one guy can just take over a game and do a Koa Pete or like some other teams have with that super score like we had last year, Walter Clayton, when times get tough?
I think Tommy could be that guy. I think he's shown it this year that he can be, he can get you 20, 25, maybe 30 in a game. I do think, it is a very different ask that I think it'll be more of a collective effort this year versus last year. You had some games like the national championship game. Will Richard keeps us in it with hitting some big threes in that first half, or that game would have been over probably. And I do think that Tommy is probably that guy. And I think having those two bigs in the bottom and having Handlocked and off the bench, like I don't think there's anyone in the country that has a better third big that they can bring off the bench than Micah Handlocked. And he's been kind of an unsung hero this year, the minutes he's been able to give to keep Chinyelu fresh, keep Condon fresh. And I do think it really does come down to the guard play. Like if Boogie and Xavier Lee are able to play at the top of their game, I think then the sky is the limit. But I think that it can go either way with them.
Gotcha. And Herb doing tremendous things off the bench, obviously.
Probably
one of the best.
On fire.
Dave Brown too, yeah.
Probably one of the Brown too. Herb's probably one of the best 3-point shooters off the bench that we've seen this year so far out of most teams, I would say.
I mean, I'm looking at this right now again for where Florida, how can Florida get to the next step of it, whether it be a 2 or a 1 seed. A lot has to happen in front of them. UConn has a good matchup coming up to tomorrow. Yeah, against St. John's. So that'll be a true test for both of those teams. I'm looking because things have to happen in front of Florida for them to be, I would say, in the conversation for a 1 seed. You would argue that Florida, to be in the conversation, to have an opportunity to be, doing our own bracketology here, they've got to win out for them to be at least, obviously, even though we know the SC championship or the tournament, it may not have true impact. Maybe they won't drop them, but it sure as hell will put them in that conversation if they were to be regular season champs and tournament champions. And one of these teams, again, if UConn drops one in front of them, and Houston seems like they've got a pretty easy schedule left remaining, but I haven't looked at Iowa State's. But do you really think, is there a true possibility with how their schedule is kind of shaped up? Could Florida squeak in the last 1 seed? I mean, we did it last year with winning the SC tournament. Obviously, a much better basketball team record-wise. And then they were more highly ranked. We were the number 1 3 overall 1 seed, I believe, last year, if I'm not mistaken. Could we squeeze into that 4th one?
I think it's difficult because I think if it comes down to it and say UConn doesn't drop another one, which, I mean, they've dropped 2 of the last 5, but I don't see Dan Hurley letting that go on too much longer. And I think if it comes down to it, bracketology is going to give that 1 seed to a UConn or an Arizona over us, even if Arizona were to drop another game, because I think they only have 2 losses on the season.
Yeah.
And I understand that, head-to-head matters. Like as we saw this year in the college football playoff, Miami, Notre Dame, head-to-head should matter at some point. And I realize it was still early in the season, but I think a 2 seed right now, if we win out, 2 seed locked up for sure. I think because there's going to be one of those 3 Big 12 teams, it will have to lose at some point. And then, or I think 2 of them will at some point in the Big 12 tournament. And then I think there's some teams around them, like the Big 10, like Purdue and Illinois, I don't think have a stronger case for a 2 seed than Florida does. Gonzaga, I get that out of my face. I don't think they deserve a 2 seed at all. They have no real wins this year. And like the one time they played anyone of substance in Michigan, they got absolutely boat raced. I think they lost by 40. So I don't think I think they lost. It was like 101-61. They got absolutely mollywopped by Michigan. So I don't think that Gonzaga has a case. And I think the 2 seed, provided we don't drop any of these games to like Texas or like Arkansas is the big one. If we can beat Arkansas resoundingly, I think the 2 seed should be pretty much locked up.
Kansas, Arizona plays Kansas and then Iowa State back to back. So that could be, you could have Arizona with 4 losses. or you deliver Iowa State a loss. Kansas doesn't really a factor there. Kansas could be kind of the upset here. I'm looking for opportunities of how we get there. So yeah, it's gonna be tough, like you said. The losses you look back now to TCU and I would argue Mizzou are what's really kicking us in the tail. That Auburn loss, I'm more okay with, just because I think the matchup and the way that game landed in the schedule. I kind of see it. The Mizzou one was unacceptable in my opinion.
Yeah, and everybody has
the
one of
TCU
those.
one.
Everybody has one of those losses where you kind of scratch your head. And the TCU one, although it looks like TCU could maybe slide into the tournament, Mizzou is in that weird spot. But yeah, Auburn, they're not doing us any favors. Neither is Georgia. Like, Georgia has been absolutely just falling apart. They started the season really well. It's the Mike White prototype. We saw it for years. Start the season well with non-conference where you play nobody, get ranked, lose to any good teams you play, squeak into the tournament, maybe win a couple games. You get Chris Chiozza hitting a buzzer beater 3, you make the Elite 8, and then you ride that for 5 years until they ship you to Athens.
I got a question. Why is Florida not getting any amount of love by the national media, being the defending national champions?
I think it does come down to just how badly the SEC has looked. And maybe it's the SEC beating each other up, but I think it's every team in the SEC that has looked like a threat at any given point. Like, I mean, Tennessee's still a 5 seed, even though they've dropped some very bad games recently. But they do beat Vanderbilt on Saturday. Vanderbilt's another team that started the year very strong, and then they've dropped off considerably. So I think it really just come down to the SEC being probably, I don't want to say the weakest, because I still don't think the ACC is that good, but it's definitely not as strong as the Big 12 or the Big 10 this year. And I think that's just what it comes down to. I don't think it's necessarily anything offensive to Florida being the defending national champions. And I think us being the 7 spot right now is probably because of that, because you look at what we won, 7 or 8 straight games, but the teams that we've beaten haven't really been, aside from maybe Tennessee and Alabama, have not been that great. I mean, Ole Miss, that we should have beat them by 20, and we did. So I think it really just comes down to that strength of schedule in this, January, February timeframe.
Even last year when Florida put that run on, in the SEC championship and winning that, it felt like all eyes were Auburn, and the whole situation was around Broom and his injury and how he was fighting through it, and it was all love to Auburn. I don't understand why the national media can't wake up and be like, hey, I think Todd Golden's in his bag again, and Florida could definitely make a deep run into another Final Four or Elite 8. I think Final Four is the floor for Florida this year, but I'm also a Homer fan, so
yeah. I think when you're looking at this schedule, and I kind of want to pick your brain here about this, John, too. It's like, look, to get to a Final Four, you're having to take down it, right? If we're to end today, Iowa State and Michigan. And I know, Cody, we got to be the best. I get it. I love it, right? But and we kind of went through a similar gauntlet last year. Honestly, I think we went through a harder one. I think taking down UConn in the fashion that we did was pretty gnarly. We were the 1 seed. What's that?
Maryland also was a tough one.
Maryland was the 4 seed. We played Texas Tech, which was the 3 seed, which was us. We didn't play the 2 seed, which was St. John's, but I would argue was probably the weakest 2 seed of the bunch last year, as they went down pretty early. So it was still a tough gauntlet to get there. I think just the factor is now we are what Texas Tech was last year. Michigan is essentially us in this particular bracket. So now Texas Tech had us on the ropes, so it's very doable to get through to it. And then at that point, you get to the Final Four, you're more than likely probably playing either a Duke. See, look, you have UConn as a 1 seed. I don't think UConn ends up with a 1 seed now based on how these things are shaping up. And Iowa State could squeeze into a 1 seed. It's fun to see how much it could shake up here at the end. Ultimately, Florida is going to have, a juicy one to get through. I don't think there's any easy brackets. But, John, we were talking about upsets, and obviously when you're trying to pick the perfect bracket, and we'd love to have you part of our high top bracket I'm sure you do it, John. But
oh yeah,
the 12-5 has always been my favorite upsets. I'm a slut for a 12-5 upset. 13-4, you always got to get one in there, right? And then or a 3-14, excuse me. Oh yeah, 3-14 too. 3-14 is a rare one. I'm seeing some more possible 3-14s than 12-5. That 12-5's lost a little bit of its juice. I don't feel good about any of the 12-5s right now. I like a lot of the 5 seeds. The 4 seed, I don't see too much there either, but that Gonzaga game, right? And the Nebraska one, Austin Peavy is somebody who's kind of been a weirdly upsetting one. Do you like the 12-5 right now, or does the 5s feel pretty good as from what we see right now?
The only 5 seed I'm looking at, if it was, current matchup right there that I could see, I mean, Vanderbilt against Yale, you got the battle of the nerds. I think Yale could potentially give Vanderbilt some problems. USF
Similar teams, right? Both teams are shooting teams. Yeah.
Yeah. And USF is a team that has really, really, they found their form. I actually watched their game Saturday. I think they were playing, I believe it was UAB on Saturday, and they looked pretty good. They have, I think that USF is a team that could give Tennessee some fits. And we have seen that with Tennessee, where some days they just don't show up. So I think the 5-12s are interesting. But yeah, I think some of those, the 4-13s, Utah Valley against Michigan State, that intrigues me a little bit. Alabama, another one, but I do see Nate Oates maybe trying to get his team focused, and I could see that. It really depends on how they do this tail end of the season, how they run through the tournament. But I'm looking at it right now on the screen. Gonzaga, UC Irvine, that one. Yeah. I mean, I obviously I've been talking about how much I don't respect Gonzaga, so we'll see what that looks like. And UC Irvine, they've had a good program there the last couple of years, so I think that could be interesting. And Nebraska, Austin P, I think Nebraska has enough shooting to beat any 14 seed. But I think once you get into the second round, that's where you see a lot of these. Like, I could see Kentucky beating Iowa State. Like, I love Iowa State. I think they've been a good team all year. But Kentucky has enough talent that they could beat, or a Villanova, Illinois, if it were to shake out that way. Even a UCF. UCF's got some big wins this year. They beat Kansas. They beat Texas Tech. They have the guys to beat a team like that. But I think the second round upsets in those like 2-7, 2-10 spots, that's where that could be pretty target rich if you're looking for some sharp money to make.
And that's what I was saying. Like, I feel like in the years past, the 12-5s are much more likely to happen, where it does feel like once you kind of get into that second round is where the things open up a little more. Right? Like, again, last year, St. John's was 2 seed. They go down to, I believe it was Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken. And so even in that Duke bracket, I remember their bracket up in the top right was fairly easy. A lot of upsets happened over there. It felt like Florida was the only one that didn't get too many upsets outside of St. John's. They played the 3 of the 4. And then again, that UConn was a really good 8 seed. So it just kind of all depends on how it shakes up. But here's, again, this is kind of what it was. This is how it was shaping up, right? UConn was your 4 seed, I believe, is kind of how it was. But since then, it's dropped. Now, it says it's been updated, but I don't think they're changing it by the day. I'm sure they would meet again, on Monday about this?
Yeah, that I don't know. I know that they released it, last week? It was Wednesday or Thursday. They released the first bracket because it was after we talked last week. So I think it could be. I think they wait until after the AP poll and they see some of the midweek games.
So we can see what tomorrow.
Big Monday. Yeah, I think it's coming at some point this week. They'll update it with that top 16 seeds. But yeah, Virginia, they had a great weekend. I forget who I think they beat. Was it Louisville? There was so much ball on this weekend. I'm trying to keep all of my ducks in a row. It's difficult. But Virginia, I hadn't given them much, but they've only lost 3 games all season. And yes, the ACC has been weaker, but they've looked very good all year in the games that they have played. I think they beat Miami this weekend, who's another team that looks like they're going to be in the tournament as an 8 or a 9 seed. And they beat them just barely. But, I mean, Miami's another team that I've watched multiple times. I really like their coach. But I'm a homer because he played for the Gators when I was in high school, and I loved watching Jay Lucas play. He was a great point guard for us. So I think that UVA is a team that I could have been sleeping on potentially, and this weekend might have changed my tune on them.
Is there a Cinderella team this year, a unknown college that could go in, hit all the threes and really rattle somebody early?
Miami of Ohio. I know that they're ranked 21. They're undefeated still. I don't think they could win a national title. I don't know if they could make a Final Four, but I think they could certainly make some noise. St. Louis is another team that I really enjoy watching. I mean, I talked about the kid last week, Robbie Davila. He's been kind of a cult hero the last 2 years when he was at Indiana State and now at St. Louis. and he followed his coach from Indiana State to St. Louis. He's kind of a walking double-double. He plays kind of like Jokic, where he's 6'10", awkward as hell, but he's a point guard basically. Like, even though he has the body of a Albanian arms dealer, but he plays that he plays like a point guard, and they're a team that I think could give somebody some fits in that second, third round. So I think that could be a lot of those 2, 3, 4 seeds could be looking at upsets in the second round, as well as I think a lot of the 4 through 6 seeds. I think I can't pick it right now because I don't know which teams they're going to play, but I think there could be some teams that are vulnerable going into that first weekend, into the second weekend.
I love that. At least the first weekend, I love a good Cinderella story. Obviously, Butler being the biggest one for us here in Indiana when they made their run. And then, you have these small schools like Marquette usually is pretty good at basketball, even though that's mostly what they fund. That's all their NIL money. They didn't make it this year, but I love a good small school that just shoots threes and throws up prayers, and they end up knocking somebody off.
Yeah, I miss VCU. I don't know what happened to Virginia Commonwealth University. They used to be a dog every year. They were in the tournament, making Sweet 16s. They made the Final Four, I think, once or twice. And I don't know what happened to that. I know Shaka Smart was there, and then he went to Texas, and now I think he's at Marquette, and things are not going super well for him.
Yeah.
But it is interesting the transition you see with some of these coaches that were incredible basketball coaches before NIL, and then NIL came in, and it kind of just ruined everything for them. And so Shaka Smart, I loved watching his VCU teams. They just played crazy defense. But as far as Cinderellas, I think you'll get maybe 1 or 2 teams that sneak through to that Sweet 16 Elite 8. But then I think once we get to the Elite 8, it's going to be nothing but the big boys.
Awesome.
It'll thin itself out. John, this has been great as always, man. It's a blast getting to pick your ear and talk about it. It's obviously we're in the heat of it. March will be next week, which is my favorite time of year. We spring forward, so we'll be in the heat of it. I'm sure we'll be streaming the SEC tournament as it starts probably in the next weekend, right?
I think it's the following, because we play Kentucky on March 5th. I think that's like and then the
Saturday,
following
and then
weekend. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Which
perfect.
It looks like we're getting the auto buy all the way to, I think it's the quarterfinals, semifinals of the SEC tournament with the 1 seed. So that's a big one. If we can save some legs, save some time, and make a run through the SEC tournament, I think the 2 seed is there to be had. Maybe a 1 seed, depending on what happens, but we can only control what we can control.
Yeah, at this point, it's we let it get to this rate, but hopefully Florida can go back to back in the SEC tournament, claim a regular SEC championship, which would be huge. Hell of a 2 years for Todd Golden and the boys, and we'll have some fun. We'll see you again. We'd love to have you back. We'll keep it rocking and rolling. But John, tell them where they could listen to you when you're not on the show. High Top here.
So I do commentary for Daytona State College here in the Volusia County area. I was doing baseball last week. I'm doing women's flag football coming up this season. Very exciting sport. If nobody's watched it yet, it's becoming a real program in JUCO, and it's been really fun to watch. And then I'm on Twitter as well. You'll see me interacting with Shelton from time to time. My man Stephen Harris, the champ. I love it. I did want to make a comment about him yesterday when he was talking about what he would listen to before the games. And I was always a big Lil Wayne guy, too. I listened to that song Mega Man just on repeat before high school football games. So love me some Stephen Harris. Shout out. And, I'll be back, and we can talk some ball, maybe get on a stream. And I'm just excited for March, man. It's my favorite time of the year as well. It's getting warm. Well, it's cold right now, but it's going to get warm, and then we're going to get after it. Hopefully another run for the Gators. Hopefully doesn't affect my blood pressure as much as last year's run did, because
it will.
Dude, last year, I don't know if that's sustainable. I was almost glad it was over. Like, I was so awesome, but every single game, that Texas Tech game, I almost had a brain aneurysm. And then the Auburn game, another one. I need us to win some.
Have you seen the watch party recap from that one?
I have not, and I need to watch that one. It was
must watch.
We keep it pretty calm, cool, and collective here,
yeah, we're pretty chill. Yeah, we're pretty level-headed.
Hey, I do the basketball streams on the weekends by myself. You're more than welcome to hop on. Just shoot me a DM on Twitter or hit me in the comments. More than welcome to come hang out with the prof on basketball weekend.
Let's do it. All right,
yeah,
guys.
We'll make it. We'll definitely have you on for the big ones. I get on for the big ones, but weekend are tough. John, I appreciate it, man. Thank you, bub.
Thanks, guys. See you guys soon.
See you, bub.
See you.
Hey-o.
There you are.
Great stuff there with John, man. I love having on talking
Love
basketball.
that guy, dude.
Yeah, he's good. He does a great job. I love getting to pick his brain, and I feel like I'm going to be better at the bracket than normal because I feel like I've got a little bit of
a little inside horse.
more knowledge. Yeah. I feel like that's what I always feel like, and then I show up, and then that's not the case at all. I end up dropping the ball. But we had Graham Hall joining us here in about 2, 3, 4 minutes time to talk things all things Florida football now, making the smooth transition into what should be a good time. But I am excited to pick his brain and see where how he's feeling on how things are flowing, what he's been hearing. I always do this. I'm pretty adamant about this and open about this. I always get the guys on, and it's nice to get different perspectives. How they view these things are great. And what's interesting, I want to give him his flowers because we had him on very early in the coaching search, and now he pointed more towards we had him and I had the discussion of them using the turnkey thing. I was like Lane doesn't fit me as a turnkey guy.
Yep.
And he goes, yeah, keep an eye out for probably a possible coordinator, something like that. I don't know if he mentioned John Sumrall, but the clearly a different move than what we were all anticipating as Florida fans. Even though Lane was fairly highly impacted into it, he was very invested in the plane searches during the time, which was fun to watch him write about it. So he's been all over it, but I know there's been a lot of conversations, a lot of talk of just the buzz around campus. I spoke about it on last night's show, and I was listening to the tailgate yesterday about the just kind of the older guys that are surrounded by the program, and then sitting around talking with people and hearing things. So excited to hear what he's hearing, and then I'm going to do the best that I can if practice does start next week for us to have them all on once again. And again, we always ask, what are you seeing? What's different? What's the vibe? How are we feeling?
Yeah.
And I don't know. For me, I think Goodall and Graham Hall always do a good job of being more reserved in these scenarios. They always kind of get labeled as the negative ones, but I like those guys because we bring enough juice. Yeah. And so it's easy to get sucked into it. I think Cam is still new in the world of it, so he still has that fanatic part of him, and it's hard not to get sucked in. I think the Goodalls and the Graham Halls, they've been burned enough times to be just like, we're gonna wait and see.
Yeah, they've definitely written some articles early on, and those things haven't come true, and they definitely get more reserved. I think that we've kind of been more reserved this time around in this relationship.
For sure. Yeah, much more reserved.
I mean, she just moved in. We don't. Yeah. We're still in the cupcake phase.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm old. My hammy's tight. You're grumpy. I think those are factors that are playing into it as well too. It's basketball time too, right? This is kind of where we really found ourselves last year this time in the basketball world of things. But here he is, looking gorgeous as ever. Graham Hall, ladies and gentlemen, joins the show. Graham, how are you doing, big guy?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. I was like, he's gonna hit us with a stare off. I was like, here we go. Yeah, we hear you, big guy. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me here. What's going on?
Thank you for hopping on the morning show, man. We were trying to make it work. I'm glad that we do the morning shows now, so we've got plenty of opportunities for us to get after it.
I love it, man. I'm a morning guy. I'm try and be in bed by 9 p.m. type guy, or we got something else going on if there's a basketball game. So I'm up and at it. This works perfect for me.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful morning here in Gainesville.
Not I, but we do get up to do the morning show. I'm more of a nighttime guy. It is a beautiful morning. I was talking about that last night, man, listening to the tailgate and those guys get after it. There just seems to be a buzz. Now, it could just be just the excitement, but we have baseball's doing well, softball's kicking ass, basketball's doing its thing. Obviously, the Summerall sensation in Gainesville is buzzing. And is it real? Is there just a nice little floaty buzz going on right now, or is it just there's nothing bad happening at this moment?
Yeah, it's nice. Enjoy it, right? I mean, you're going to have your ups and downs with all sports here. You're not going to win them all. And I think certainly there's a lot to like, especially softball off to a dominant start. Gymnastics, you go up to Georgia and beat the Dogs. Anytime you do that, feels pretty good. Baseball's hitting really good. So I think that for fans, I hear a lot from people like, oh, I can't take too much away from non-conference play, or call me after the Miami series and see how we're doing. There's a lot to like in the first 2 weekends for this team. Liam Peterson was fantastic on Friday night. Florida's hitting really well. A little bit of a different approach at the plate this season here. Where they're not really home run or bust anymore. It's a team that is more willing to, hit line drives and get on base and bunt a little bit more and be strategic with stealing. So that feels really good.
Small ball, baby, my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way to go, for this team. You bring in Tom Slater, so I think that deserves a lot of credit for the different approach here. And Kevin O'Sullivan has used the transfer portal a lot better. I'll say this about Kevin O'Sullivan, refreshed.
Yeah.
Certainly, you're a coach who is so intense for 20 plus years. In my opinion, in today's day and age, and I know we want to think of these coaches as, unflappable in a sense would be the word, but these guys need a break, take a break. And so I think it was great for him in fall ball to take his time and handle what he had to handle and come back refreshed for the season, because you're seeing a guy who's a lot more relaxed, at ease with stuff. He's not, wanting to burn the house down, and when they lose a game in a sense. So I think, that's awesome. Absolutely. But basketball. I'm trying not to get too optimistic that they can make another deep run into March because it's all about matchups. You look at the top of the field and there are so many good teams this year. I was talking to someone the other day and it's hard for me to see a Cinderella coming out of this.
Yeah.
But
we just got done talking about it. Literally.
I hope it happens. I mean, if you're a Florida fan, you obviously don't hope it happens, right? Because you want to be the team that's a 2 seed that makes the run all the way into April. But it is cool for the, casual observers who don't really have a connection. And maybe once your team is out, it's cool to root for the underdog. I always think that that's a lot of fun. But I don't see if there's going to be like a George Mason. Maybe the Miami Redhawks can do it. I love what Miami is doing up there. The good Miami is doing, going undefeated right now. Maybe they can do it. They're 25-0. But otherwise you look at around college basketball, there are 10, maybe 12 teams that you could make a case for making the Final Four right now.
We just had our guy John on, and he said very similar things. It's like, I know you didn't see it, that's why I was laughing, because he literally said the Redhawks was a team that he would keep.
Hey, I would love it, man. I think if they can keep doing it and prove that this isn't a fluke, it's going to be the conversation in a couple of weeks. It's going to be like, oh, the Redhawks got disrespected. There's a chance they don't even get into the NCAA tournament. Where if they don't win their conference tournament, or say they pick up a couple losses here, are they going to be better than a 9th seed? I don't know. I would like to see it happen, but they're going to give so much respect more to the power conference teams, the Power 5 conference teams, that they got to win the conference tournament to put themselves in a position to do it. I would like to see it though, but you look around college basketball, the product is as good as it's ever been. The games are a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And you look at Florida from an advanced analytics standpoint, they're ranked higher in Torvik and KenPom than they were at this point last season. And we all know how that one ended.
Graham, this is why I keep telling them. Everyone keeps giving me flack. I keep saying this team as a whole is better than last year's team. Last year's team had different components that made it special, which was the individual play. But the front court is playing out of its freaking mind. It's not even close to how much better it is. And again, like, you may not have a guy that Walter Clayton played unconscious for 2 months. Like, I don't understand how people don't. The guy literally was not in his body. Okay, it was like from Space Jam, just playing out like he had the Looney Tunes in him. Like, he was nuts. And then you had the complimentary play of Thomas Houck, who showed up, who became a superstar. Like, those were things that, like, you need them in March. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but the way that this team is flowing, this is how every other team in the tournament last year, in my opinion, was moving. Very Houston-esque-like, very Duke-like, where it's like, yeah, that's just a badass team. And look, Cody keeps saying, hey, do we have a guy? Thomas Houck's still on the team. He was, in my opinion, when Walter was like, I don't know, just was conscious for the 3 seconds he was, balled out. How didn't, from what I can recall, maybe it's, the honeymoon part.
8 minutes left of the first half is usually when they would let teams run up back on them. It was so frustrating last year, but yes.
Yeah. And Ruben Chinulu. I mean, that guy. That him alone is going to be such a massive factor in the tournament. That was a piece that killed us last year. That when we were when the opposing teams were going runs, or we were finding ourselves kind of in a weird hole, it was because the opposing under the hoop play would dominate us because Ruben Chinyelu would hack them and get fouled out, and then we're having to go thin. All of these things, and not to mention if our shooting went cold, he wasn't making a turnaround jumper or a little bit of a hook shot, right? Now we're doing all those. So
yeah. I mean, the strides that Ruben has made in the last year have been just so impressive. I mean, this is a guy who 9 months ago was not really an offensive, piece for you. He'd get putbacks and he would affect shots at the other end, but he still struggled with fouling. That was an issue for him coming over from Washington State. And he would give you, 20, 25 good minutes a night. And getting Micah Handlockton back really limited the deficit of Chinyelu's foul trouble at times, because then you can bring in another 7'1" guy to back you up at center if your main starter 6'11" guy gets in trouble. And I do think that, that's a luxury, certainly, but his offensive touch, his back to the basket play has been so much better. And, I don't want to take anything away from a national championship team because that seems just in general too critical. But like you said, Florida had to rally in a lot of these games in March Madness. They had to absolutely, pull some games just out at the end with incredible shot making. And that probably is the one, I think, critique that you could make, is that they weren't really blowing teams out and they really had to rely on some heroics there in a sense. This team, if they can just play their game and shoot, above 35% from 3-point range, their front court is going to out-rebound teams by 15 every single night. Defense carries, rebounding carries, front court play carries. If you get all of those things consistently in March, I think you have a better chance of being able to play your game every single night. And even if Boogie Flan has given you 10 points and 4 assists and a couple steals, and Xavier Lee, even if he has a couple turnovers here, Florida can overcome that because they have so much talent in the front court, which makes me think that this is a team that could be a little bit more consistent and not find themselves in as large of holes when you get into March.
And look, I think the point of it too is like, just because I believe this team is better than last year as a whole doesn't make it a national championship team, because matchups still matter, how you flow through. I mean, it's March Madness, right? That's what makes it the madness. Yeah,
they've already had a big injury with the Texas Tech kid.
So many variables that could play a factor.
Things are going to fall.
Graham, we also want to love that we came and talked ball too, man. Again, like I said, all of it's just exciting stuff. The baseball part of it, we've got our own baseball show, and we got a whole segment going. We need to get some more subscribers on that though, real quick, boys. Okay, we need to get, I think, 1,000 subs. Not enough love for our guy Dave over there doing a lot of work talking about it, but. The football part of it, I wanted to pick your brain. I haven't had a chance. The last time we had you on, I don't know if you remember, but you got a lot of flack because you were like, hey, just don't be shocked if we don't go get Lane because of, and you and I was like, we had like a really good conversation because I was like, yeah, turnkey doesn't, like, the Lane doesn't fit the turnkey-esque style. Like, it didn't make sense because the way you and I were discussing it is like, I would imagine turnkey's going to take, hey, what's the most value? What's the most bang for our buck here? Lane didn't fit that. I said that. And I was kind of I was like you in a sense where you always I was more reserved. The entire Lane drama, I was very reserved, which was not like me. Felt good because I came on the right end of it. Sucked for a quick second, but I was like, I kind of felt like we just didn't seem like we were going to get it done. Obviously, we land on Coach John Sumrall. You've been covering the hell out of it since it's happened. Just your quick synopsis of the difference, I guess you can say, from last regime to this regime in the short amount of time that he's been here.
Yeah, I kind of felt like from watching, after we realized that it was John Summerall who was going to be the guy, I went back and watched a lot of his press conferences and a lot of his remarks. And my first thought was, this guy is going to instantly win over people that were still disappointed that they didn't land on Lane Kiffin. And in the time since, just how John Summerall has endeared himself to the Gainesville community, I think has re-emphasized that. No disrespect to Lane Kiffin here, but Lane is... I kind of want to call him a little bit of more of a narcissist than John Summerall is. And that's not to take a shot at Lane Kiffin, but he's not a guy that is going to want to be in the public eye or make it about other teams. And John Summerall has really endeared himself, like I said, to use that word again. He's out at softball. He's out at tennis. He's meeting fans at basketball games. He's building a relationship with Todd Golden, which, Todd Golden was actually, we've talked about Urban Meyer and Danny Warfel. Todd Golden was involved in that process of bringing John Sumrall here as well. A guy that I think feels a lot of gratitude towards, the UAA maybe gets a little bit of flack, to put it mildly, but Florida really took a chance on Todd Golden. He hadn't won an NCAA tournament game. He was still a young coach on the rise, and they bet on him, and it paid off. And I think Todd has a lot of appreciation for the Florida UAA that they bet on him. And he kind of was making the pitch like, hey, if they're going to bet on me and I can win here, why not you? So I think that aspect was huge. And, I don't know if I want to apologize necessarily to some of the fans because we weren't attempting to, the media, when I say we weren't attempting to kind of tell people that they were incorrect with the strength training program. But in retrospect, it was not up to the level that was required to be a dominant team in the SEC. From what I've heard in the past 6 weeks, John Sumrall's strength training program with Rusty Witt is just much more intense. It's really built on a lot of the military principles that you guys have read about and seen talked about, but it really is about a lot more mental toughness than just solely physical toughness. And I do think it's going to pay dividends in limiting injuries. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy to come on here and, eat crow and be like, man, we were sold it again, another bag of goods that we were led to believe was going to be a better product than what we had seen before. But what I've heard in the past 6 weeks is that this strength training program is vastly better, vastly improved here in Gainesville, and guys are going to benefit from it, especially, guys in the trenches. So I think that mentality, him being a player's coach, him appealing himself to the Gainesville community, he's doing all the right things. What will happen when he does? I hate to be realistic, but what will happen when he eventually loses the game? How will the narrative shift? I think that losses will be easier to stomach in year one because you're going to have a coach who's going to come out in the post-game press conferences and on Mondays and Tuesdays, and he's going to come out and take more accountability about the factors that led to the loss. Say, we got our butts kicked. We need to do this better, this better. You're going to see a little bit less coach speak when he discusses Florida's issues. And I think that will be refreshing, a little bit more accountability. And again, I'm not trying to take shots at Billy Napier or Tyler Miles or anyone like that, but that's just my belief, is that you're going to see some of those elements improved, and those losses that are going to happen this season. It's a difficult schedule. When those happen, you're going to see, I think, a little bit more accountability, and guys at the same time be a little bit more mentally tough, where one loss isn't going to turn into 2 or 3 because of the offseason strength program, the mental toughness they've built. I think you'll see that this year in 2026.
You said a lot of great things, and one of those things is like, look, we do it too. You always compare it to the last regime, and it's not necessarily to take shots. Like, it's fun to troll. We've had our fun, but at this point, like, we're just comparing and contrasting. And the analogy that I continue to use is that, look, we're taking a different road. In this road right now, it's like driving on A1A. It feels more scenic. Now, will the road lead to better things at the end? I don't know. You don't know, but I'm glad it's different. And that's the first step, is that at least I get to feel something different for the next couple of weeks. And I think you're 100% right. I've kind of thought about that as well too, of the losing aspect of it. Is you're going to lose football games. It's part of it, but it will feel different. And I think the other factor is that not necessarily will the reaction be different, but it will look different. And I think the response will be different, right? It won't come out and just run the same mundane thing, hoping that did we get it right this time? Is it going to click this week? And see just doses of it clicking. No, I think that they'll spin it on its head. So you said you wanted to apologize. I think I understood what you were referring to, that you were maybe critical of fans that were being critical of the past.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't think I was openly critical. Maybe at times I pushed back on, or here, let me put it this way. We wrote a lot of, because you talk to coordinators and you talk to players, and when you're interviewing guys and they're praising the strength program and you're hearing nothing but praise and praise and praise, and guys hitting things, you can come out there and be like, well, let's see how it manifests itself on the field. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. And you can maybe show a little of like, let's be cautiously optimistic. And I think a lot of times our writing can contribute to people believing or being led astray in a sense that the strength program or the offensive results are going to be different. And that's not the intention. You're intending just to frame an interview and and put together the opinions expressed by people within the program. And then when that doesn't manifest itself, the media can become a target for the ire of fans. It's like you're kind of caught in the crosshairs where it's like, well, it wasn't just the players saying this. You helped lead to the spread of the belief that we had that we were going to be a more physical team, going to be more dominant. And when you do that, you have to acknowledge that you're part of the communication model, so to speak, that led to people being frustrated to the level they are. So it's not intentional to come out and make people frustrated by that, but you also have to, like I said, acknowledge that you were part of writing those things and spreading what ultimately did not come to fruition.
Sure.
So, I guess I don't know if apology is the right word, but I want to take some accountability that expressing these views, it's like making a take. Like, if you get something right, yeah, you deserve to pat yourself in the back. But if you get something wrong, you need to come out there and be like, hey, I expressed this. I helped share this. I put this out here. I put this parlay slip on Twitter, whatever you end up doing. If it doesn't hit and it's not right, just come out and say, hey, I missed on this one. So the media is not perfect. I know that there's this belief that, hey, the media needs to do everything right and that they're held to a higher standard. If you write something and it doesn't come to fruition, and you then learn more information and say, actually, oh, this could have been done a lot better, just come out and say it or write it. And I guess that's what I'm attempting to do here and say, we expressed that we thought the strength training program was in a great place, that it was going to be elite. Now finding new information about how it is right now, it's worth acknowledging, hey, it wasn't as good from what I'm hearing as it could have been. And now you're led to believe, maybe right, maybe wrong, that it's a little bit better than it was a year ago. And so I guess that's what I'm attempting to do here. And if you want to see it as an apology, that's fine with me.
I love it. I was just, go ahead, Cody.
I think the great Colin Coward does a where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. Appreciate you, Graham, for doing that. Where Graham was right and where Graham was wrong. I got a quick question for you. Last staff felt like people that were doing a 9-to-5 job. They came into work, they did their job, they left, and you never heard from them again. This staff, all the way down to, Bam Hardman and some others that I follow on Twitter, it feels like
Evan McKissick was on Saban Gale last night. The guy was like, I haven't left this office all weekend.
It feels like this staff is much more engaged in the other sports programs at UF and almost being like college students, freshman college kids, and enjoying the softball, the baseball, the basketball program, and really getting like just blending in and getting in with all of what the Florida Gators and the university have to offer. You didn't see that last staff. I know that's something very small, but when you're likable, you can explain losses a little easier. Is that also kind of the feeling? Obviously, you're more tapped in than we are. We don't live there. You're close. Is that kind of the feeling that you have with this staff, with Bam Hardman? We saw Troutwine at a Coach Foster was at a baseball game. Coach the DC was literally working on a laptop at one of the, I don't know if it was softball or baseball, but is that what you're seeing also with this staff?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the honeymoon phase. That's what they should be doing, right?
Yeah.
They need to have an understanding that they're going to a proud program that's coming off a 4-win season, and the fans want to be invested. And if they extend a hand, it will be grabbed because people want to feel good about this program. They want to like them as coaches. So keeping them at arm's length, keeping the fans at arm's length makes no sense in my opinion, especially when you have as many good sports as you possibly have. And you guys see it, coaches coming on shows, talking about the program, talking about how excited they are to be at Florida. Not to be a downer, but this is a program that has had 5 losing seasons in its last 6 years. But people still come here and talk about the championship expectations. Coaches understand the expectations of this Florida program, and they understand the mantra of everything school, and they understand that they can appeal to fans instantly before they've ever coached a game here and build some goodwill. So it makes a ton of sense to do that. To not do that doesn't make that much sense. So it's good to see coaches that understand that. John Sumrall is a guy Billy Napier felt this way too, but he had been at other stops. He'd been a coach, had won 3 straight seasons of double-digit wins. And John Sumrall comes here and has immense gratitude and it's just a different persona than Billy Napier, where, he's out there in the public and very, very confident and has a very fiery personality sitting on the basketball sidelines. His personality is extremely endearing to people, and he understands that that's a strength, and to use that is very, very wise. Now, if they have 3 straight losing seasons, do I think he's going to keep showing up to softball games knowing that, fans could be out there and boo him when he's shown on the Jumbotron? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball to look at that. But I do think right now, when you have only goodwill that you can build right now, to maximize that is just extremely wise. And that's what this coaching staff's doing.
Yeah, I think it's a better comparison because I will say, like, a little defense, not that it's needed, but in their last year this time, the coachings weren't necessarily as accepted, right? Like, you really didn't care to see the coaching staff just because of how the last few seasons had gone. Yeah. So they probably weren't the most welcomed or invited staff. But I would say I don't recall when Napier and Cove got there that this is how they were running around campus. That part I don't remember as much. Did we see Napier at basketball games? Yeah, but it was kind of like up in the bleachers. Like,
what's the narrative if Florida? So, and I'm not saying this would be you guys, but there would be some people out there that if Florida is coming off a 4-8 season, and
if he's out there, I'm like, why are you recruiting?
It's kind of like when Dan Mullen was out there, like wakeboarding in the middle of the summer, where you can do that if you're winning 9-10 games and you had a great year. You can go out there and everyone's like, oh, our coach is so cool, this is awesome, he's enjoying himself, he's recharging for the season. But if you win 4 games and then you're out there and posting that you're on vacation or you're at a tennis match, there will be some people who sit there and say, why isn't coach in his office working to improve this program? Why is he not working overtime? That's just how it is. I mean, there's going to be some people who are going to use that, even when they're attempting to maybe endear themselves to the community through a vacation photo or being at another sporting event in Gainesville. There are going to be people saying, like, you were a 4-win coach last year. Why are you not spending every single minute in your office trying to make yourself better?
Yeah. Look, for me, I think that what they're doing smart is that this staff may have not been as the most warm welcome because of the Lane situation. So, and you spoke to it earlier about the Todd Golden situation and kind of giving some flowers to the UAA, which I do appreciate, because I do feel like, and although there may be issues, I do feel like sometimes that we pile on when it's not necessary. But yeah, they took a risk on Todd Golden, where Todd didn't, like you said, didn't have a big win, but he was up and coming, showed some grit, and he went and won without a lot of support financially. He had it, but then he goes and wins the national championship, and look at the turn on its head. So I think and I've noticed this too, I think he's taken John under his wing in the sense of, like, here's how you navigate this. Go talk to Hugh. Go do these things. These are where your conversations need to be had to get that support, because you may have not been the first choice right off rip, but that's a huge factor. Obviously, Hugh had the little bit of the hiccup with the Rashada thing. That's been settled. That was on the football side, so I imagine that probably is what kept him away from things. Hugh is a booster for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about. But I do want to, again, I go back to the strength and conditioning, more so just kind of what you're hearing about it. But look, I think you do a phenomenal job. And during all this, like, I wouldn't say I'm nearly in the same boat as you guys, but we find ourselves in a similar position where it's like, we are the Disney Gators and we hype it up. Now we can claim the fan card a little bit. So that is our identity, is we're just fanatics here. But I also have learned that we carry a little bit of responsibility of, like, what we put out there is like, well, you told me this. But I don't know what the hell's going to happen. But the strength and conditioning, it's again, you only know what you know, right? And that's kind of how I view it. I really don't blame the writers on it, because you're asking the questions and you're asking the people that you believe you should be asking. And to the people you're asking, they didn't know, right? They were in a world that was in their own little cocoon. And I think what's important of, like, well, what's different about this staff is, like, I'm sure that what you're telling me, there are people that were there for both regimes that are seeing a genuine difference. And I think that's probably the biggest factor now that we have for this strength and conditioning. Have you heard anything about this gauntlet? Like, do you have any details of it? Because I'm very intrigued by it. And also, I believe they're testing again, which is one final time tomorrow. Or can you confirm nor deny that?
I can't confirm or deny that. I've not given a strength schedule. I wish I was. I asked multiple times if I actually be out there at 5:50 in the morning and watch the gauntlet. Wasn't invited out, unfortunately. I can understand why, because what I've heard is that a lot of guys are out here, puking their guts out. They're trying to complete this circuit, which is very, very difficult to do. And I think Florida is getting closer. Do I know if they're going to complete it before the spring camp arrives? I don't know. It is that difficult. It's basically a circuit where you are testing against one another. And I've heard several, standouts from the gauntlet. Obviously, Jaden Woods is a name I keep hearing has just been absolutely dominant in it as well. There have been a couple transfers that I've heard a lot of really impressive things about. Mason Clinton, I've heard some impressive things about from multiple coaches.
D lineman, baby, Southern Miss, Lego.
He's testing really well, and he's got really, really good numbers. Now, how that will translate to the field, I'm not trying to come out here and say, oh, Mason Clinton's going to get 10 sacks this season.
Graham lying to us again, easy.
Yeah, Joey Slackman 2.0.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Boy.
That's why I have to clarify, because then people, it's kind of, you ever seen that tweet where people are like, everything is just misconstrued? Like if you say, I like pancakes, someone will be like, oh, you hate waffles. Like that's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm saying
that's the world we live in now, dude. It's exhausting.
Yeah, and I'm not. So I really sometimes you have to pump the brakes and make a compound sentence and be like, I like pancakes, but I don't hate waffles. I'm saying that Mason Clinton is testing really well and is looking like a really good under the radar addition for this defensive line group. That is probably one of the key pieces.
Now, Graham Hall says Mason Clinton will be your next brick winner.
If I see that tweet, I'm going to come back on the show and be like, we have to set the record straight. I'm not saying that. Now he could be,
Graham
and
Hall
then I'm going to come back on the show and be like, I told you.
I was all over it.
Graham Hall says Mason's going to be the next defensive Heisman.
I can't.
Hey, if it happens, then please put it out there that I said it.
Yeah.
But it's a really difficult. There's a reason that Tulane has kept the gauntlet despite the departure of Rusty Witt and John Sumrall there, because there's a lot of guys in the program that remained at Tulane, obviously, and saw how it benefited them last season, and they wanted to remain with the assistant strength staff and the guys that they brought in. So that's probably one of your most positive signs that, hey, another program isn't wiping this slate clean. They want to continue doing what John Sumrall and Rusty Witt were doing in New Orleans. It's very, very difficult. Obviously, it's built on, developing mental toughness. There's a lot of Army aspects of it. I can't tell you specific workouts, what it involves. It's timed, obviously, and you have to beat times and you have to go against one another. But it's basically designed as a circuit where they have to hit every single benchmark, every single number that they're looking for, or else they don't beat it. It's not like you get 99% and they're going to be like, okay, we're good. And from talking to John Summerall, he's had past teams that have thought, okay, hey, if we get close enough, the coaching staff's just going to be like, all right, spring camp is right around the corner. Let's just say that they beat it. That's not how it's going to work. Like, I could see a situation, and I don't know if this is going to happen, where if they don't beat the gauntlet before spring camp arrives, that they're going to potentially include some elements of it in spring camp to keep focusing.
He said they wouldn't practice.
Yeah, I don't think they get logos either. They're gonna be looking like a JUCO team or a JV team out there. No logos.
It's awesome you heard that, because I didn't want to say that, because I've heard that from some private conversations.
I think he said it on the show.
Yeah.
I think
so good. He said it publicly then.
Or no, Troutwine did. Troutwine did.
If they don't beat it, I can't see a world where, everything we just talked about from goodwill.
See, you're in the same boat with me. You want to see him miss it too. You want to see what happens.
Maybe that's what they need.
What's the narrative of if this team coming off 4-win season doesn't do spring practice with all,
That's what I said. I was like, dude, the juice is going to be nuts.
The stock would tank. There wouldn't be many people who are just like, oh, this is a great idea. They're going to be like, Coach, we should be practicing 15 times for spring. We need every spring practice we can get. Why are we focusing on strength training for a 4-win team when they need to learn a new offensive system? They've got a new defensive coordinator. They've got new pieces all over the field. Half the team is new. How can you justify this? So I do kind of feel like it's kind of just
easy,
a suspicious comment.
Easy. If you can't, my comment, if I'm coach, like if they can't beat this, what makes you think they're going to win football games?
Yep.
Yeah, well,
that's the least of my concerns right now. Is like,
hey, Graham, don't worry. Don't worry. We can make chicken salad out of chicken shit. We can spin it. Okay. Don't worry about that. We'll spin it.
People people are going to not react like kindly to that. It would be pretty crazy. I mean, it would make a lot of headlines where people are like, Florida's not going to have spring practice. And then some people will jump the gun and be like, this is the future of college football. All these coaches are already talking about, let's go to a rookie or transfer mini camp here and move past the traditional spring camp. And then Florida would make someone, you guys probably would do a show and be like, Florida's on the cutting edge of the future of college football, where they're not doing a traditional spring practice here, and kind of spin it a little bit. But so many people would react to that and be like, how can they just extend winter workouts at the expense of spring camp? So I'll believe it when I see it type thing. I do think that they're going to get really, really close to beating the gauntlet before March 3rd. I don't know if they'll do it. I'm not a betting man, but I would bet that they would, because
the fact they haven't beat it yet concerns me a little bit. I think they get one more test.
Maybe the punishment, instead of practicing, they put them on purgatory, the Stairmaster, for like 40 minutes. Like everybody, they just group them up. Everybody's getting 40 minutes on the Stairmaster, and I got the button to make it go up and down, dog. Like you guys are gonna be punished.
I mean, good.
I mean, I hope so. Like, there's a part of me that hopes so, because that's going to, build mental toughness, not to use a cliche here, but not to push back on you, but there ain't a football player alive that gets run over by a running back. And he's like, how did he do that, man? I was on the Stairmaster for 40 minutes last week.
I hear you. Graham, obviously you've dated a couple coaches in your tenure of writing.
Way of phrasing.
So obviously right now we're like going out to ice cream, froyo, and like taking little walks by the park and going to look at like puppies at PetSmart. We're in that phase with John Sumrall and the staff.
We describe our relationships with our coaches as we're dating, Graham. I don't know if you picked up on that.
That's cool with me.
Yeah. Okay.
So
you're emotionally invested.
Has there been any red flags? Like, has she, like has somebody cut her off and she kind of went a little crazy, and then oop, he's sitting right there in the passenger seat. I'm gonna tame it back. Has there been any red flags?
This is journalism, Graham. Okay,
with this staff.
John the question.
And it doesn't have to be John, but right now, just with the staff, have you seen it? Just a flare up, maybe a little. Ooh, what was that?
No, I haven't yet. I mean, like I was saying, this is the goodwill time. If you're doing that, it would be a massive red flag right now, where it's hard to fumble, to use a football cliche, these 4 months of being on a campus. I haven't seen any red flags. Not to say that there aren't any. Okay, like
doing the thing, Cody.
I mean, I haven't seen any right now, and I'm not trying to come out here, in late February and make anyone be like, oh man, maybe this thing may not work, because then if it works out, you guys will be on Twitter dunking on me for being like,
we are Team Graham.
We would
here,
never.
Okay?
We would never. Us personally would never do that, unless you say something wild like, Florida won't have any starters on Florida State's defensive line and going 2-12. We would never do anything like that.
I mean, that's a great tweet, because it's still being brought up. I mean, isn't that the goal in life, to make statements that people remember 5 years later, good or bad?
Yeah,
True.
I hear you.
True. Yeah, we're Team Graham here. I'm always a big supporter of you guys. You guys got it bad. I don't envy you at all, and I appreciate what you guys do to tenfold, and always come on the show and hanging out. So yeah, you got a lot of flack when you came on and spoke about what potential targets we would get, and I was like, that was what we needed to hear, guys. Chill out, back off. Yeah, I love your positivity though. This is nice. I thought we were going to be a little more reserved.
Thanks,
I didn't.
No, I've heard only good things. You'll have to touch base with me every quarter though, and you can assess my mood, and if I don't feel as positive, then you can be like, oh man.
Yeah. You're straightforward. You're straight.
Don't worry, the dating question's coming back. Okay, so we're gonna see. We're gonna see if Hey, listen, by quarter 4, if we're getting glass in the chili, then we know things have gone wildly wrong.
Look, this could go sour in a week here, because if practice doesn't happen, that, like you said, I think there could be some fans of like, this guy's an idiot. Who does he think he is? Rearranging practice, like that's going to be a narrative, right? There's going to be people who've watched this like, this is stupid to not practice just because you couldn't complete some stupid workout. It's going to be a factor, I think.
It's not going to happen because there's so many things involved with spring practice. Spring practice is critical to recruiting, because every single one of those spring practices, you're trying to have unofficial visitors there. You're trying to have guys on campus who are looking not to see, oh, let me see what they're.
What happens when you don't pass the test, bitch?
You'll be like, do you want to be like this? Join right now. You could probably do better than that. They want to see what the coaching is like. And that is one of the appealing aspects of coming to spring practices, because you're not just getting all, sunshine and roses here where you're being led through a facility and they're like, hey, look at this gear, look at this shiny weight room we got. You're seeing coaches yell at players' faces, and you want to find out if that appeals to you or not, the coaching style. So that is critical in the spring portal window, or in the spring recruiting window, no spring portal. That's critical in the spring recruiting window to be able to come out and see those coaches. So they need those practices from an intangible aspect of not just team development, but to be able to sell the program to the guys who they're trying to land in this upcoming cycle. So that's the biggest thing that I sit here and say, like, there's no way spring camp would be erased this close to the start of spring camp. Now, maybe you can design.
I think they might delay it. I think they might say, hey, we got to redo. You can't even do that. Graham's not feeling it. See, this is why. I want
it's one practice.
Because you work though. You say, hey, we're not going to practice if you don't get it done. What happens?
Change the schedule.
What happens if you don't get it done?
I think it was just the first practice is what he was saying. They won't practice the first practice. They won't earn the first practice.
I could see that. I guess it's possible. It would be new and novel to me to see. Certainly. But one argument I could make for why it is possible to delay or change the spring practice schedule is because the spring practice schedule is no longer designed around when the portal opens, right? Like, you wanted to finish spring practice before the spring portal would open the last few years. That's not an issue right now. There are going to be some teams who are going to be completing spring practice a couple weeks after Florida is, April 11th. So that makes it a little bit more possible if you have to slightly adjust the schedule 1 or 2 days, because there's no spring transfer portal.
Well, Graham, we appreciate you. Tell them where they can follow you so they can let you know, so everyone can tag you in your take about Mason Clinton being the next, getting the next block for the Florida Gators.
Yeah, swamp247.com is the website. Would love for you guys out there to join our community. You guys obviously do a fantastic job, but if you're looking to talk more Florida, rant at someone behind a keyboard, come do it over at Swamp247. We love to have you. Especially, it's going to be an exciting year with basketball, baseball, softball as well, recruiting. And you can follow me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Graham Hall. If you don't like any of my takes, tag High Top Sports and say, why would you platform this guy? This is your fault. So, don't blame me. But yeah, guys, this is always a great time. I appreciate you having me on this beautiful Tuesday morning. We got to make it happen again soon.
Yeah, if the mornings work, man, we're always open. We'll this was fun. I think it changes some flavor to it, but yeah, I mean, you do a great job. You were fun to keep up with, especially during the Lane saga. So guys, go give them a follow. Go check them out on 247. They've got a lot of great nuggets, a lot of great things that they're keeping up with. Goodall's over there too. We got to get Goodall in here. It's you got to have the flow to be a part of that staff. Both have great hair.
Hey, we got a Garnier sponsorship.
Yeah. Graham, you the man. I appreciate you, boss. Thank you, bub.
Thanks, guys. Good time. I'll see you later.
Yes, sir.
See you.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a conversation there with old Graham, huh?
Yeah. Hopefully he comes back on the show. I don't think we scared him off.
No, that's yeah. Well, you might have with your date take.
I thought it was a great take.
I thought it was fantastic. I think it was great journalism. Great journalism.
That's probably one of my best jobs.
Questions, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you. That's low bar, but yeah.
Low bar. Oh my God.
This
terrible.
This gauntlet thing, I'm telling you, it's gonna distract me for the next 3 or 4 days. Like, it's kind of like you got two trains of going, like, you're playing chicken. It's like, coach said we're not gonna practice. You think he's serious? And coach's like, fuck yeah, I'm serious. And then it's like, you think he is? And it's like,
I do. I'd roll in about 30 Stairmasters into that facility and just be like, oh yeah, we're gonna be practicing, all right, practicing our freaking steps. If you guys,
but I would say if they don't get it done, they all have to race you in the 40.
Oh, there could be some souls taken in that. You imagine getting beat by a
They're not ready for your
35-year-old
speed,
podcaster?
Coach. They're not ready for your speed. I don't think they understand what's gonna happen.
There's no. I mean, I don't. Even if you're a big defensive or offensive lineman, you're not living that down that locker room. You get beat by the prof?
No way.
You get beat by the prof?
I'm coming to the spring game. I want to share how much will they be? Typically like $25 to $30. It all just depends on what shirt we use.
Cash
and we'll have
app.
hats. Yeah, cash, check, card. Just kidding. No, we don't take all that. But great stuff. Great morning show. A lot of information. The morning show's crushing. I mean, if you're not watching the morning shows, what are you even doing? You know, no Pluto in the comments there. We got Nick Staple. We got Gator Tim. I'm getting more nervous about tomorrow's gauntlet than B-ball at Texas tomorrow night. I agree, Gator Tim. I agree. Gator Jeremy, rock and rolling with us. Austin, will y'all be opening? Will y'all be at the opening game on September 5th, trying to save some money and take my boy to his first ever college game? I believe so. I think those are fun games for the family and I to go to. We should be there. We should be there. Beat Cody in the 40 and win a free shirt.
Easy. We're not giving away that many shirts, dog.
Now all of a sudden Cody's anti-giving. Usually Cody's like, yeah, we're just going to just give it away.
We ain't doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We ain't giving away that many shirts.
I've converted him. Look at this guy. I love it.
Looking out for the brand.
I appreciate it. Swatter will be there. I think they beat the gauntlet, and y'all, let's be positive. Get some. I wanted to be. I wanted to beat it. There's like that weird part of like I want to see what would happen if they don't. Like I just want to see. Like I'm intrigued. Like it's like watching a car crash.
Sick and twisted.
Yeah. Like not for good reason. I want him to get it done, but I'm nervous. Like we're coming out of the wire here.
It's like in the movies when you figure out the last ending plot twist. It's like the nanny's killing all the, like poisoning the kids or what have you. It's like, I never thought it was her. I kind of want to see something like that.
$5, the Juju, the Guru. Good morning, boys. Always remember, whatever you're going through, whatever challenges you might face today, it's a blessing to see another day. Maybe we just straight. I'm
gonna need that here in about an hour as I'm
at the
we
Performance
got Center.
Sprinter Cody heading on in there, boys. Well, hope you guys are enjoying the content. You know what to do. Smash it, like it, spin on it, do all the good stuff too. We got Cody the Prof Show, and y'all be good. See y'all tomorrow morning and tomorrow night. This is the best day of the week. Peace and love, baby.
It's Hot Top Sports where the takes don't miss. The prof with the stats, the champ with the fist. Water bringing fire, cowboy tie riding bold. Balls calling bets, watch the stories unfold. And it's truly eyebrows running the show.